WADR. Promoting dialogue.
It's midday in Dakar. Good afternoon, and many thanks for tuning into West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and around the world on WADR.org. This is Newslink, and here are the top stories. Burkina Faso Transitional President Traoré expresses regret over past negotiations with jihadist groups. Nigerian police rescue 58 kidnapped victims from a forest in a Kogi state after shootout with kidnappers. Ivorian Popular Front president speaks out on partnership with ruling RHDP party ahead of September 2023 elections. And Ghana Journalists Association condemns attack on political show on International Press Freedom Day.
They've also made a larger formal complaint aside that of Sani to the police. We've also directed that they issue a statement as well as petition the regional minister who is the chairman of RESET. We want to see to all this.
Please stay with us for details of these stories and more.
Here is James Adjapong with Newslink.
Many thanks for joining us. Our top story today takes us to Burkina Faso, where authorities are expressing regret over negotiations that took place with jihadist groups prior to the 2020 elections. In a recent interview on national television, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the president of the transition, stated that these negotiations were a source of humiliation for the Burkina Faso army. Instead, he believes the only viable option is to fight against these groups and that he will not surrender any territory under his watch. Oge Oberika with more details.
Captain Ibrahim Traoré, during the interview broadcast on national television, stated unequivocally that there is no room for negotiation with terrorists. According to Captain Traoré, soldiers were ordered to remain in their barracks, which damaged trust between the army and the public. The jihadists were able to acquire advanced communication equipment with the financial compensation received from the negotiations. Captain Traoré believes that this is why they destroyed mobile telephone network towers. He stated that negotiations only led to taunting and that the army would fight instead. The president of the transition echoed this sentiment, declaring that the fight against terrorism is a top priority and that no compromise will be made. Lieutenant Colonel Paul-Henri Damiba, who staged a coup against the previous government, had previously engaged in negotiations with non-state armed groups. The government credited these negotiations with the liberation of the Djibu-Ouagadougou axis. However, Traoré dismissed negotiations as a humiliating experience that weakened the army's position. The Burkina Faso army continues its fight against terrorism and vows to protect its citizens from extremist attacks.
Okay, Oberika with that report. In Nigeria, police have successfully rescued 58 kidnapped victims from the Udulu forest in the Kegu local government area. The forest shares a border with the Sardauna forest in Nasarawa state, as well as other known kidnappers' hideout in communities contiguous to the Federal Capital Territory. According to reports from the FCT Police Command, the kidnappers engaged the police team in a shootout upon sighting them. However, the security operatives were able to coordinate a successful operation and free the captives, Usman Umar reports.
According to a statement by the command's public relations officer, Josephine Ade, one of the kidnapped victims identified as Tama Jonathan unfortunately died during a gun battle between the police operatives and the kidnappers. Superintendent Josephine Ade said the rescue operation was a collaboration effort between the police and other security agencies, as well as vigilantes and hunters from local communities. The operation aimed to combat violent crimes in the FCT, rescue victims, and bring the perpetrators to book. The rescued victims are currently receiving treatment in the hospital and will soon be reunited with their families. The police public relations officer also reiterated the command's commitment to sustaining efforts to prevent threats to the safety and security of FCT residents. She assured that the command will continue to work towards the rescue of any resident held hostage by criminals and ensure that perpetrators are brought to justice. Kidnapping has become a major security challenge in Nigeria, with many cases reported across different states. The government has been intensifying efforts to tackle the issue, with security agencies collaborating to secure the release of victims and arrest perpetrators. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, Usman Umar, Reporting from Abuja.
Still in Nigeria, several flights have been cancelled at Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport in the capital Abuja after a plane crash landed, disabling the runway. The incident involved a Mass Air 737-400 flight that experienced tire burst on Sunday while landing from Yola in the northeastern state of Adamawa. Despite the frightening situation, all 143 passengers, including an infant and 6 crew members, were safely evacuated without any casualties, according to a statement by Mass Air's management. Nonetheless, the incident has resulted in numerous flight cancellations and delays across the country, as reported by local media sources. Currently, many passengers remain stranded at the airport, and the authorities are clearing the runway for reopening after moving the aircraft involved in the incident.
Fresh and breaking news all the time. Hear it first as the news breaks, only on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
If you are just tuning in, this is Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM, and we are streaming all around the world on WADR.org. Let's head to Côte d'Ivoire, where Pascal Affi-N'Guessan, the president of the Ivorian Popular Front, FPI, over the weekend has shed light on the significance of the FPI's partnership with the ruling RHDP party. As Francis Boniface reports, the partnership agreement was signed a few months prior to the municipal and regional elections scheduled for September 2, 2023, which will be a crucial vote for the presidential elections in October 2025.
On May 2, 2023, N'Guessan, former Prime Minister and leader of the FPI, signed a partnership agreement with the RHDP, the ruling party in Abidjan. The main objective of the agreement, according to N'Guessan, is to promote peace and national reconciliation. He clarified that the partnership does not entail giving up the identity and freedom of expression, but rather acting as a spur and watchdog to ensure impartiality in the state, justice, fight against corruption, and good governance. To demonstrate that their representatives, the FPI fielded 30 candidates in the regional councillor elections and 194 candidates in the municipal elections. However, due to the principle of electoral alliances and common lists negotiated at the local level between FPI and RHDP leaders, the number of effective candidates may be lower. The FPI aims to have as many elected representatives as possible and to demonstrate their strength during the upcoming elections. The partnership with the RHDP is geared towards putting an end to 30 years of turbulence and confrontations and creating a reassuring environment to eradicate any temptation towards violence. N'Guessan highlighted that Alassane Ouattara, through the RHDP, extended his hand to the FPI, and the FPI accepted the president's gesture to reconcile Côte d'Ivoire in trust, love, and fraternity.
Francis Boniface reporting there. Mali and Niger are set to benefit from a $1 billion development project aimed at reducing poverty and improving infrastructure. President Abdelmadjid Tebboune said the Algerian Agency for International Cooperation for Solidarity and Development will oversee the project, which will focus on enhancing healthcare and water resources across the two countries. President Tebboune revealed that the first wave of the project will include the construction of a dispensary, a school, and a well in Kidal, a suburb in the northern part of Mali. Martisi completes the story.
The Algerian agency has obtained a financial envelope of $1 billion to finance projects in African countries. The projects will facilitate the deployment of Algerian doctors within the African continent rather than in Europe. This initiative is part of an ongoing effort by the Algerian government to promote regional stability and foster economic growth in Africa. Created in 2020, the agency partakes in the elaboration and implementation of the national policy of international cooperation. Its other activities include drafting the budget for international cooperation, supporting the activities of the diplomatic apparatus, and monitoring the technical and financial support for international aid projects. The agency has developed a program to materialize projects for the construction of a high school and the completion of a mosque in Niger at the request of the local population. President Abdelmadjid Tebboune emphasizes that the objective of the Algerian Agency for International Cooperation for Solidarity and Development is to promote development and brotherhood in Africa.
Martisi reporting there. We get back home in Senegal, where the court proceedings for the defamation case against Ousmane Sonko brought by Minister of Tourism Mam Mbanyang began this morning in Dakar. The case stems from accusations made by Sonko in a TV interview in February 2021, where he accused Nyang of misusing public funds. However, the defendant Sonko opted to boycott the hearing and is currently presiding over a city council meeting in Ziguinchor, a city in the southern part of Dakar. His legal representatives are present in court on his behalf and are expected to defend him against the charges. Meanwhile, Mam Mbanyang is in attendance at the hearing and is expected to testify. The case is being presided over by Judge Mamadou Sisi Fall, who will review the evidence presented by both parties before making a ruling. The case attracted significant public attention and has been marked by protests and clashes between supporters of Sonko and the police leading up to the trial. Still in Senegal, the Secretary General of the United Nations Special Envoy for Road Safety, Jane Todd, has praised the government's effort to combat road accidents in the country. During his visit to the National Road Safety Agency, Todd acknowledged that the global situation surrounding road accidents is absolutely unacceptable, with 1.3 million deaths and between 30 to 50 million people sustaining injuries and disabilities each year. Despite this, he expressed optimism that effective solutions can be found. For further details, let's turn to Tofik Abdul Nasir.
According to Todd, having the commitment of the Senegalese government to reduce the number of victims is crucial to achieving this goal. To achieve this objective, Todd recommended several actions that could be taken immediately, such as raising awareness among populations and users on the importance of wearing seatbelts and helmets and not using phones or drinking while driving. These simple measures could help cut the number of road fatalities in half. Todd emphasized that the responsibility of reducing road accidents is not just on the state, but should involve all road users. The Minister of Land Transport and Infrastructure, Mansour Faye, hailed Todd's visit and recalled the various initiatives taken by the state to improve road safety in the country. Faye announced that the fleet renewal process is underway and a batch of buses will soon be handed over to private players. Senegal has implemented a series of measures that have led to a significant decrease in road accidents, including a prohibition on driving between midnight and 5 a.m. The country has also strengthened its legalization on road safety, including the use of speed cameras and penalties for driving under the influence of alcohol or drugs.
Tofik Abdul Nasir with that report. You are listening to Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM. Here's a reminder of our top stories. Burkina Faso Transitional President Traoré expresses regret over past negotiations with jihadist group. Nigerian police rescue 58 kidnapped victims from a forest in Kogi State after shootout with kidnappers. Ivorian Popular Front President speaks out on partnership with ruling RHDP party ahead of September 2023 elections. And Ghana Journalists Associations condemns attack on political talk show on International Press Freedom Day. Still ahead, we have our newspaper review, guest interview, and some sports updates. Kindly stay with us.
West Africa Democracy Radio.
It's 30 minutes past 12 in our studios here, and this is West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM. Don't forget you can follow our discussions on Twitter and Instagram at WADR News, and on Facebook, West Africa Democracy Radio English Service. And we are streaming all around the world on WADR.org. The Ghana Journalists Association has strongly condemned an attack on a political talk show that took place on May 3rd, which was International Press Freedom Day. The incident allegedly involved individuals associated with the country's largest opposition political party, the National Democratic Congress (NDC), and was carried out while the show was on the air. The attack is just one in a series of abuses against journalists in Ghana, which have had a negative impact on the country's press freedom rankings. Accra correspondent Atiawene Bella Lawson now reports.
So, Carniera, first listening come now. First listening come now. The sound of what transpired on air when a journalist with Adjapong FM in the northern region of Ghana, Sadiq Gariba, was attacked while commenting on a chieftaincy matter in the community. The attack disrupted his program and led to his abuse.
All of a sudden, I saw them move into the studio. Immediately they came straight to me to do the attack.
Following the incident, the police arrested suspects believed to be affiliated with the notable member of parliament from the National Democratic Congress opposition party. The party in the region dissociated itself from the attack and offered to assist the police with investigations. Mustafa Bande is a deputy general secretary of the party.
The NDC have a very good relationship with journalists, and we cannot do politics without journalists. In fact, it's our duty to protect journalists. So if there was a break in a relationship to the extent that one must be attacked, we must take responsibility, if it is true, and mitigate the situation.
The Ghana Journalists Association has expressed surprise and disgust over the attack, which happened on World Press Freedom Day. The association's president, Albert Drumfor, has called the attack one too many, with recent threats and attacks on journalists. The association has vowed to pursue the matter until justice is served.
They've also made a lodge a formal complaint aside that of Sadiq to the police. We've also directed that they issue a statement as well as petition the regional minister who is the chairman of RESEC. We want to see to all this. National will take over the matter. We are going to petition and speak to the police administration.
The latest attack comes after Ghana's press freedom ranking dropped to its lowest in almost 2 decades, placing the country 66th out of 180 countries assessed. Ghana recorded a climb in its indicative points from 78.69% to 67.43% compared to last year. The U.S. Department of State's 2021 annual country report on human rights practices also cited Ghana for human rights abuses, including clamping down on free speech. Reporting for Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, I am Atiewin Imbila Lawson in Accra.
This is the newspaper review. Stay on top of the news. Get the most important stories with added insight and concise review.
This is the newspaper review.
Let's join our correspondent Usman Umar for the newspaper review in Abuja.
Hello and welcome to the press review segment today with me, Usman Umar from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. Today we have 2 papers for review, and that is the Blueprint newspaper and the Abuja Inquirer. On the front page of the Blueprint, we have a screaming headline concerning the Sudan crisis, and it reads, "How we trekked for hours, slept outside for days, student evacuees vow never to return to war-torn country after ceasefire. I pray Nigeria never goes into war," according to one of the returnees. And over 800 returnees have so far arrived in Abuja, according to the details of this story. And on the front page, you have a picture of the evacuees as they arrived at the Nnamdi International Airport in Abuja. And of course, this story has been trending since last week regarding the evacuation of stranded Nigerians in the war-torn Sudan. Right about now, we have about 800 already back into the country safely. Then you also have just below the masthead of the Blueprint newspaper, Senate presidency. Tread with caution, Southeast lawmakers tell Tinubu and All Progressives Congress. This, of course, has to do with the ongoing jostling for positions in the 10th National Assembly, as inauguration is due on 29th of this month. And then let's move over quickly to the second paper for review today, the Abuja Inquirer. The Abuja Inquirer has as its banner headline, "In major soup, FCT Police Command," that is Federal Capital Territory Police Command, rescue 58 kidnapped victims, with riders, 1 victim killed in shootout. Second one, man o' war gunned down gang leaders. And the last rider says operations covered Kogi, Nasarawa State. Of course, this story happened over the weekend, where in conjunction with local vigilantes from the nation's capital, Abuja, and the neighboring Kogi State and Nasarawa State, vigilantes were able to comb the forest, which has been a hideout for kidnappers over the years in the nation's capital, and were able to, of course, record such a victory of rescuing 58 of the kidnapped victims. An interesting revelation, according to the story, the leader of the vigilante group is actually a woman called Esther. And it is also reported that she has warned all kidnappers around that particular axis to steer clear or have her and her men to contend with. And then, of course, you also have another trending story, Abuja to beef security around public schools. This is as some Parent Teachers Association, of course, have expressed fear over rising cases of kidnapping around the nation's capital. The Federal Capital Territorial Administration is hereby assuring parents that it will beef up security around schools. Another story on the front page of the Abuja Inquirer says Federal Capital Territorial Authority demolishes 10,000 illegal structures in 8 years. This has to do with the ongoing cleanup activities by the FCT administration, which has led to demolition of shanties and other illegal structures erected on lands not approved in the nation's capital. And with this, we've come to the end of the press review for today. My name is Usman Umar, and it's back to you in the studios.
Politics,
analysis on major news,
social matters, and all. This is The Guest.
The recent attack on the Ghanaian journalist Sadiq Gariba, who hosts a political talk show on Adjapong FM in the northern part of the country, has been strongly condemned by the Ghana Journalists Association. This attack occurred on May 3rd, which is International Press Freedom Day, and reports indicate that the perpetrators are believed to have links with the National Democratic Congress, NDC, the country's largest opposition political party. In light of this incident, our guest, Nana Jantua, will be sharing his thoughts on whether this attack confirms the grim picture painted by the Press Freedom Index data, which lists Ghana as facing a decline in achieving a free press and freedom of expression worldwide.
Well, I have been a victim to what we call organized flak. And organized flak meaning that when you begin to be professional, you get to a point where some group of political party members gather to lie against you and also to even plan on how they can hurt you. It makes our work very scary. And as we speak, some of us, it is not all places that we are able to go because of the fear of our lives. We need to protect our lives and also to safeguard our families. With recent happening in the northern region, I am not surprised. And normally it comes from majority, the politicians, whether NDC or MPP. So it is not an exclusive phenomenon regarding a lone political party. It's come from both sides. And obviously, if you're a journalist, whoever is in power will not want you to speak anything against him. But this particular case, the journalist was attacked by the opposition member because he felt that certain things that he was saying did not inure to his benefits. I am scared. In fact, when you speak to journalists off record, they express the fear and the fact that they don't feel safe, although they have to work because they are journalists. So yes, honestly, you'll be scared because you are not expecting these things to happen, but it does happen.
So does this incident confirms the recent data on press freedom release, painting a gloomy picture on the safeguard of freedom of journalists in your country? Exactly, because the president is and had been a freedom fighter. The Minister of Information, Honorable Adjapong, is a media person. So one would have expected that these things will not happen. But there had been a lot of things that had happened that there hadn't been any concrete solution other than the mere rhetorics from them. So it does confirm, and it is clear that journalists are not so safe in as much as they are working. So, I mean, it confirms the ranking. The ranking is a true reflection of what is happening. All right. So finally, of course, the Ghana Journalists Association has come out to condemn, as you put it. How can there be a more practical solution towards such unwarranted barging into studios of journalists who are only doing their professional work beyond the condemnation? I think it's an African problem. Everywhere in Africa where obviously you have some level of dictatorship or the leader is not so friendly, you would expect that either the machinery or the institution or maybe the supporters will want to intimidate you one way or the other.
So it is not just about condemning the act. I've had a problem with just condemning the act. Because if you are in charge of protecting journalists as GJA, you just don't tell us that you've condemned the act. You have to take action. You need to send people to court. You need to make sure that the law works. So I am not of the opinion that just condemn and nothing happens. Clearly, GJA can do more. And also, in as much as we are condemning people who attack journalists, I'm a journalist, I think that it is also very important that we become researchers, we verify our sources before we put out anything. Verification is very key in order to avoid anything that will plunge the station or you journalists into something that is not worth listening to or worth watching. So yes, it is good, GJA can condemn, but we can do more. We need to start also putting the institutions on check and prosecuting some, sending some to court and taking actions and even moving beyond the country, writing to international bodies to speak and condemn and take action and sanction government who are opposing to press freedom.
Nana Kwadwo Jantwa is a Ghanaian broadcast journalist. Now to some sports update. A total of 6 countries have qualified for the quarter-final stage of the ongoing Under-17 Africa Cup of Nations AFCON in Algeria. Nigeria's Golden Eaglet on Saturday night became the latest team to qualify for the quarter-finals. Nigeria defeated their South African counterparts 3-2 in a very entertaining clash at the Stade Mohamed Hamlaoui in Constantine on Saturday. However, the 6 countries that have made it to the last 8 in the competition so far are Nigeria, Senegal, Morocco, Algeria, Mali, and Congo. We have come to the end of this edition of Newslink from West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to our listeners in the Gambia via Hot 104.3 FM, and in Liberia via Alternative Youth Radio 98.9 FM Lufa County, and in Ghana on Royals FM 104.7 Wenchi. Christian Mukidi has been on the console. Many thanks to Mustafa Sek for our Facebook live coverage. Do interact with us via social media platforms on Twitter, Instagram at WADR News, and on Facebook, West Africa Democracy Radio English Service. Coming up at the bottom of the hour is a rebroadcast of our head program, Well Buddy, with Imo Edit. I am James Adjapong. Good afternoon.
News, talk, music, get it on 24 hours on West Africa Democracy Radio 94.9 FM Dakar.